Broadcasting live from the Capitol OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. Another nice Saturday of racing across the country. A little bit later on, we will be joined by Matt Dinerman from Oaklawn Park. They have a nice schedule of stakes lined up. They have the Oaklawn Handicap, which looks like a nice salty field there. The Valley of the Vapors Bathhouse Row will have 3-year-olds with a potential winner going to the Preakness. And at Laurel, similar, the Tessio today with the winner getting a berth to the Preakness. And so I thought we'd start things out talking a little Laurel racing. And who better to talk to than our friend John Piassek. We had him as in his role from the racing office at Yonkers. We had him sit in with us for a few minutes on Monday night. That was a lot of fun, our road trip down to the Yonkers. But today we'll get some thoughts on Maryland racing. John, of course, had the relationship with the Maryland breeders for a while. And so he does selections also for Frank Vespi on the Racing Biz for Maryland racing. So we'll get some thoughts on his take on some of the stakes at Laurel. John, good morning.
Morning, Seth. How are you today?
Very good. And again, thanks to you and everybody down at Yonkers for the hospitality on Monday night. We had a lot of fun. It took me a while to get my sea legs. The first half of the card, I wasn't really picking that well, but the last half of the card, I felt like I got on track again and wound up with a positive ROI on the win end. So it was a fun night down at Yonkers. We appreciate the, as they say, the hospitality.
Always a pleasure to have you guys. I had a few winners, and of course, like 4 of the Borgata is coming up this coming Monday. April 27th, we'll have the finals of both the Borgata and Matchmaker on May 9th. So we're super excited about that. And of course, you can watch all the Yonkers action at Capitol OTB.
Yeah, it was, as I say, it was a fun night, certainly, and we enjoyed it. And a nice springish night, and the weather was great. So again, we'll look forward to our next visit down there. But today we're looking forward to some thoughts on Laurel. And again, as usual, folks can find more information, your picks over on theracingbiz.com. But we thought we would get some thoughts on the stakes action today, which is highlighted by the Tessio. So why don't we kick right off with that? It is a win and you're in type of a race for the Preakness, $150,000 up for grabs for the 3-year-olds. Nice fun field in here. I pulled up a replay going back to the private terms of Pay Billy. Pay Billy will certainly take a lot of action, is hung out a little bit outside. And there are some other interesting horses in here. Surfside Moon comes in off a second in the Withers behind Captain Cook, the Dutrow horse. Studley Do-Right last time tried the Virginia Derby, but you look at a steady string of stakes underneath on his resume. Sacred Thunder was second in this private terms. So we're looking at the first 2 runners here. They're both back on Saturday afternoon. The horse that I find a little bit interesting also is Kentucky Outlaw, coming in off a 2-for-2 record at Parks. And I think that one could be a little bit interesting at a price. But how did you see the Tessio?
It's a great field. And to your point about Kentucky Outlaw, it wouldn't surprise me if he won by 10. It wouldn't surprise me if he lost by 30. He's looked very good at Parks. First 2 starts, but it really hasn't beat much. He beat a 5-4 first level allowed field last time out. Now he's taking a big step up in the stakes company. The only advantage he has is the prime early speed. But he'll get his trip. It's a matter of how long he can last. I ended up going with Pay Billy on top because if he repeats that private effort, he's going to win this race. He got a great trip that day. Sat just off the pace, kicked away, won very nicely. Ran a Brisnet figure of a 97. In fact, he's the only one in the field. But a Brisnet figure in the 90s. His last 3 starts. Plus, he had great tactical speed. He sat just off the pace when he just missed in the middle forward 2 starts ago. Noted he got a good trip in a private term. I'm not super concerned about Post because A, he won from the outside going a mile and a 16th last time. B, it's a mile and a feet, so it's a little longer run into the first than usual. I think in second early on in the just off of Kentucky Outlaw, and when the arrival backs up, hey, Billy, we'll take advantage and kick clear the others.
When you look at his resume, he's the perfect example of a horse that took a few starts to kind of figure it out. There are horses like that, but the first 3 starts of the career, he wasn't showing a whole lot. Then he broke the maiden, and since the maiden, he has ripped off another couple of wins last time in the stakes company and just missed in another stake. So as I say, he's one of those that clearly shows that sometimes it just takes him a few races to kind of figure the game out.
Absolutely. And but him improving. By Mike Gore. Mike also has a name Omaha, who did very good work in the take races at Aqueduct over the winter. He came third at the Virginia Derby. But Mike was saying the whole time he wasn't sure Omaha was the best 3-year-old in his bones. He thought Pay Billy was, and he's going to get a chance to prove it today. I think he is, and if he wins his race like he could, he'd be a bona fide Preakness contender, not just the field filler.
Yeah, and the Tessio typically does produce some runners in the Preakness, and now it is the win in urine, has been for a while now, and so we will watch that with some thoughts on the second leg of the Triple Crown. A little bit earlier on the card, the Henry Clark. It's turf season. You got to love this turf season down in Maryland. This one a mile on the grass. I pulled up a replay going back to March 2nd down at Tampa. The number 1 will be Signator for our friends at West Point and Shug. This was a nice win with a move to the turf. And I guess Signator in here is the number 1, and we'll get it done late coming through. And again, first start on the turf. You got to love that it seems to have liked it. Now they step right into stakes company to see if this horse is truly a turf performer. Some other horses in here with familiar names. Fulminio comes in off a try in the Virginia Derby last year when it was on the grass in September. So a little bit of a layoff. Degree of Risk is interesting for Ken Ramsey, trained by Nolan Ramsey off a win down at Gulfstream. Mischievous Angel, I think, could be a player as well, coming in from New York, although hasn't been seen since last October. Another fun field. What did you see in the Clark?
As you said, it's a great betting race. One of the best betting races anywhere in the country today, in my opinion. I went a little bit off the board and went with number 1, Ocean City, for Brittany Russell and Sheldon Russell, who, of course, win a lot of races down there. In fact, they won 2 on the grass yesterday. This one, I mean, he's shown speed and faded a bunch of times last year. He won once in 7 starts, but there's really no other speed in this field. You know he's going to get loose. He'll be a decent price. I could easily see him going to the front and just walking the dog and going gate to wire. He's 12-1 on the morning line. Even if he goes off at like 7 or 8-1, how often is he get a price like that on a Brittany Russell horse, especially one who has such a big pace advantage? Not that often. Ocean City is going to be my win pick, and I think he's a must-use in pick 4s and pick 5s as well.
Yeah, you may have talked me into playing around a little bit. First time gelding symbol, and it is Brittany Russell. And as you say, as soon as you brought up that horse, I thought 12-1 on a Brittany Russell on the morning line, that may be worth a look. So Ocean City, interesting in there. 9th race this afternoon, the Weber City Miss. The Tessio sends the winner to the Preakness. The winner here will be eligible for a spot in the starting gate in the Black Eyed Susan. 3-year-old fillies again, and I pulled up a replay. Maiden special event back in February for Late Night Call. Nice win here. Late Night Call is going to be the number 5 horse, relatively lightly raced, but another one of those that maybe just took a few races to figure it out. The numbers are a little light. The obvious horse, morning line, and will take a lot of action because it's Mike Rapoli. But Mike Rapoli, trained by Brittany Russell, will apply the number 1 horse off a career debut win. Safe Trust is interesting. Moon Cash for me. How did you see the Weber City Miss?
As you noted, Reply is 8-5 on the morning line. Not that you can't win, but she's a very bad favorite if she goes off at that low price. I mean, she's never faced winners. She's never gone around 2 turns. Her maiden race, it was a good effort. She beat a horse in Passes East who won a Keeling yesterday. But she didn't run a great figure. She ran a 77 on the Brisbane scale. A few of these have run in the 80s multiple times. I'm like, am I really going to take odds on a horse like that? I don't think so. I think she's definitely worth trying to beat. I ended up settling on number 6, Safe Trust, on top. I think if she goes 2 turns, she wins this one very easily. She got up to win the Beyond the Wire, going 1 mile via disqualification, then won a stakes quality 6 furlong race here last Saturday with a powerful move in the stretch, 1 by 3, ran a big Brisnet figure of 91. Her immediate pedigree does not suggest 2 turns, however, some great uncles and great aunts were graded stakes winners going a mile and a 16th and longer, so it is there somewhere. She'll get a nice trip on or the pace. I think Late Night Call, as you said, does go to the front. I think Safe Trust takes advantage if she fades.
Yeah, Late Night Call, as they say, is interesting to me. On the numbers on the buyers, we'll have to step it up. But being lightly raced, I don't think that's out of the question. I'm with you on Reply. You want a short price on it. Still has to prove herself a little bit. So I'm willing to take a shot in there as well. 8th race at Laurel, the King Leatherberry, legendary name down there in the Maryland area. Certainly an appropriate that stakes race named after Leatherberry. 5.5 on the turf. And I pulled up in here the replay from last year's King Leatherberry. It's going to be the number 5, Whitty, getting it done. And Whitty is back again today. Throughout the career has bounced back and forth, turf and dirt for Elizabeth Merriman. But as I say, the defending champion here. So I think that one's interesting. Brittany Russell as Prince of Jericho, who has shown plenty of talent throughout the career. Determined Kingdom, now in the barn of Mike Trombetta. Last seen winning at Keeneland is interesting to me. What were your thoughts in the Leatherberry?
I mean, Whitty, as you said, is a very lovable horse. He's a half brother to Caravel, who won the Breeders' Cup Trophy Sprint back in 2022. And of course, Whitty has built up a nice resume of his own. I really like Determined Kingdom in here. And in fact, he's going to be a single in my late pick 5 and pretty much a day maker for me. I mean, he is a well-established veteran on the circuit. He's 3 for 5 at Laurel. Won here first off the layoff in late June. Beat a horse named Outlaw Kid, who came back to beat a nice field at Aqueduct in his nest start. So we know that he can do well off a long layoff. He has good tactical speed. He's making his first start for Mike Trombetta. And he was purchased by Larry Johnson for $190,000 at Keeneland last November. If you're paying $190,000 for a about to be 6-year-old gelding, you know that horse is the goods. And Larry, of course, had a great eye for horses. So I think he knew what he was doing with this one. I mean, he is, on pure ability, I think, the best horse in the field. He's strictly the one to beat. He's 2-1 on morning line. I'm hoping he goes off somewhere around there because I think at that price, he'd be a steal.
Yeah, interesting. Over or approaching $750,000 in earnings, and interesting that purchase last fall. And we'll go quickly here, just get some thoughts on the Dahlia, because I know you have other appointments coming up this morning, and understandably. But your thoughts on the Dahlia? Fantastical, I thought, was a little bit interesting in here for me. Sparkle Blue is the deserved morning line favorite, I think, for Graham.
Sparkle Blue would be a bad favorite if she went off at her 6-5 morning line. I ended up with number 7, Tufani for Mike Stidham and J-Ron Barboza. This one had been doing good work over the winter at Fairgrounds. Came in second in a stakes there last time out with a nice closing punch. Did well on the grass in the Mid-Atlantic last year, taking a pair of stakes races at Colonial Downs. This one's figures really tower over these. If she runs back to any of her recent races, she'll win this one. Sparkle Blue has a shot, but her numbers aren't that much better, really not better at all, than Tufani's. And I think those gaudy class lines are going to cause her to get overbet.
Yeah, I agree she's going to take the action. It's Grand Motion. I had Tufani, some circles around that, like the fact coming up from the fairgrounds. Been working recently at Delaware, but that one's a player, certainly. Nice little stakes card today down at Laurel. And as I say, who better to reach out to than our friend John Piassek? Again, you can find more over on the racingbiz.com. John, we'll let you go, but we appreciate the visit this morning. We'll talk again.
Always a pleasure, Seth. Take care.
All right. Appreciate it. John Piassek. Again, he joined us for a few minutes at Yonkers the other night, works in the racing office down there, and we did have a very fun visit to Yonkers. If you were on the Yonkers bankroll team, everybody walked away with a little bit of money. But it was one of those, when I do the bankrolls, I keep track, of what the plays are during whether we're doing it out here in the front of the clubhouse or if we're on the road or whatever, keep track and then go back and look. And I said Monday night, I think I'm going to go back and there'll be a couple of spots. Sometimes you go back and it just wasn't your day. I could have bet differently and it wouldn't have mattered. And some days you look back and you think, I skipped this race, I should have played. And Monday night was one of those where I could have tweaked a little bit and wound up with there was one race where I had a cold $54 exact that probably should have played into that. That may have been the race where I did hit the triple or the super, but I'd only played it for a dime and it wasn't spectacular. The upshot being everybody wound up a little money, but probably should have been better given, as I say, the first half of the card for me, I was treading water a little bit, but we really didn't start to play until maybe the third or the fourth race. So by the time the fifth and the sixth race rolled around, I turned it around a little bit. And we made money made some money for the team, but it could have been better. Again, it was one of those when I looked later on and went back, I probably should have done this and this. So again, the bankrolls are a lot of fun though, and we have a bankroll promotion, in fact, coming up next Friday, right here at the Clubhouse Racebook. So keep that in mind. If you come down to the Racebook on Friday, you put your name in the hat, we'll randomly select a team, and I'll be playing throughout the afternoon here at the Racebook. And the last few bankrolls have been all right. So if you want to come down and join us for that, we would love to have you. In the meantime, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll do some news and notes. As I say, the bottom of the hour, we will be joined by Matt Dinerman because it's a nice stakes day at Oaklawn as well. Stay tuned.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards Program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Welcome back. Let me hit you with a programming note. Tomorrow is Easter. I've said this a couple of times during the week. A complete anachronism as far as gambling laws. There's no horse racing in New York, nor can you wager on horse racing in New York. But you can go to your local 7-Eleven, buy as many lottery tickets as you want. You can go to a local casino and play like crazy. I don't get it, that it's still a horse racing thing. That it used to be. Also, last week but that went away. But again, it's and I have no problem with folks in the racing industry getting a break. But these days, they're in New York, they're racing 3-4 days a week, and somebody still has to go in and feed the horses. So it's not like really a day off anyway. So it's a little bit of a head scratcher, but it is what it is. So there's no racing or wagering available. So I wanted to make the programming note that here on the network tomorrow, we put together a couple of packages, all the points races for the Kentucky Oaks, all the points races for the Kentucky Derby. So we'll air that tomorrow. So you can get to see going right back to the 2-year-old season. So maybe you'll get to suss out an interesting horse watching some of the prep races right through, the most recent preps as well. So keep that in mind. That's tomorrow during the Easter holiday, Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby, trail to the big races, again, starting back in the 2-year-old season with all the points races leading up. Also, speaking of Derby, I do want to alert you as well. I printed them up. You can't really see them on TV, but take my word for it. Past performances for all the eligible horses in the Derby. If you go to the front page, I found it the other day on Equibase. And let me see if I can quickly. There's a section that I think shows the points leaders. And if you look in that section, I'm just going to see it's about. You scroll down a little bit, it says Kentucky Derby Trail points leaderboard, shows the top 10 points. But down in that box, there's a link to free PPs for the probables, which includes some of the horses that are on the bubble as well. So if you'd like to print up some PPs for the probables to the Kentucky Derby, pop over to Equibase, and they are available there. Also want to note the upcoming week. Again, no wagering tomorrow, but when we kick back off on Monday, there will be a mandatory in the pick 5 at Parks. The press release I read said the late pick 5, but then it said there's no early pick 5. I don't know whether that's every day or just, but if there is a choice, it's the late. It sounds like there might not be a choice, but if there is, it'll be the late pick 5. And there was a fairly hefty carryover when I read the press release a couple of days ago, 500,000 maybe. So people will play into it, but that's Monday at Parks, a mandatory in their pick 5. Also a note for this upcoming week, filling in for one of the wintertime cancellations, there is an added day down at Aqueduct. That will be Wednesday. So New York racing will kick off a little bit early this week. Wednesday is a day that has been added to the schedule due to, again, cancellations during the winter season. So Aqueduct will race on Wednesday with an added day. Speaking of Kentucky Derby, there were some workouts of note. Mike Welch, who I would assume probably heads up to Churchill this week, but he was bouncing around Florida yesterday, and Tapan Street had a workout at Brad Cox's Pace and Base. And I was a little bit surprised when I first read, a workout at Payson in the headline or the header under the picture, because when we were at the Florida Derby in the winner's circle afterwards, Brad said, at that point, I think it was like Monday or Tuesday, maybe. It might have been, we'll stay around a week or so. But the game plan was he was going to head to Churchill. It seemed like sooner rather than later. And sure enough, when you read the article by Mike Welch, it says trainer Brad Cox's decision to keep Florida Derby winner Tapan Street at his newly adopted winter home of Payson Park an extra couple of weeks to prepare for his upcoming start in the Kentucky Derby continues to pay dividends. And Tapan Street worked yesterday, worked in company with stablemate Rapture, had a nice workout according to Mike Welch. Brad Cox was there. Elliot Walden was there watching. Sounds like they were pretty happy with it. Brad Cox said, we were looking to let him stretch his legs, get a nice gallop out, and we got what we were looking for. This should set him up well for a big effort on Derby Day. He's in a very good spot right now. And then it goes on to say, and we had Brad on the phone. It was probably a couple of months ago. So he'd been at Payson for a while, and he seemed really happy with that. The Payson base for him has been a base. It hasn't necessarily, he hasn't started a lot in Florida over the past few years. He started more, but it wasn't, I'm going to base down a Payson to run a lot more at Florida. He just based there and was using that because of the weather and then shipping around to a lot of other venues, including some at Gulfstream. But it wasn't, the game plan wasn't, we'll base our horses at Payson to now race mainly at Gulfstream. He was all around, including the nice victory in the Dubai World Cup with the long shot hit show. That one had been down there. And there's a quote, and again, that we heard similar when we talked to Brad a couple of months ago, but he was quoted in this article. I really like training here. I like being here myself. And most important, I like the way the horses come out of here. So based on what we've seen and how they've run elsewhere, horses coming out of here are going to be fit and ready no matter where they go coming off this track. So he's clearly very happy with his decision to kind of have a base at Payson Park, which I visited a couple of years ago. There are the 3 Palm Beach Downs and Powell Meadows. And in years past, we have done some interviews at Powell Meadows, which is a little ways away from Gulfstream Park, 45 minutes or so. Payson's a little more of a haul, a better part of a couple hours. You got to head up head north. But I visited a couple of years ago. A friend of mine was working for Shug, is working, and went up and visited. It is a really nice, very tranquil turf training, dirt training. It's a nice facility. I can see why people like to be based there. But Brad Cox certainly has made it kind of a home and has done has been very successful with that situation this season. So again, added another notable name. As I say, in years past, we have done some interviews when we've gone down Florida Derby Week at Palm Meadows. And it seems like a lot of the folks that we used to interview have either gone to Payson or maybe over to Palm Beach Downs. There's a kind of the last time we were at Palm Meadows, there was a different crew in there. So it's interesting is, the Payson, I think, has become a little more popular over the last few years, but popular in a way that, again, still keeps it just a really nice setting, a nice tranquil setting. We'll talk a little bit if we get a chance in a few, because we'll cut out now and get Matt Dinerman on the phone. But things are looking up in Florida. There's been the situation hanging over the head the last couple of months with the decoupling bill that would decouple slots and racing. And as they've done that, did it on the harness side, goodbye Pompano, did it on the Greyhound side, goodbye Greyhound racing. So there were some dire thoughts should this go through as far as what it would mean for the future of Gulfstream Park. But yesterday, the Governor DeSantis, was at the OBS sale and made some very promising remarks on his take on this, which seems to be a little more on the horseman side of things to go against decoupling. So that was good news, again, down in Florida yesterday. But as I say, we'll hit on that a little more if we get a chance as the morning progresses. Otherwise, we will head now to a break. And when we come back, again, we will be joined by Matt Dinerman. Nice card today at Oaklawn, highlighted by the Oaklawn handicap, but a couple of other stakes on the card as well. All of that will be our focus when we return. Stay tuned.
Coming right back, the American, the European, and it is theatrical in front. Trempolino driving hard, full out into trying to get him, and here is the winner. And theatrical has won it. Absolutely spectacular.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
And it's the filly winning colours. Gary Stevens going to the whip left-handed. Just one crack though. It's winning colours. Turning in an absolutely outstanding performance. We're looking at one exceptional filly.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, joined now by Matt Dinerman, the announcer down at Oaklawn, and also he and Nancy. I had Nancy on last week, and I told her I thought she and Matt do a really good job on the pregame show. It's always informative, very entertaining as well. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Seth?
Very good. Happy to have you on board. And as I say, I told Nancy, when I sit in here, I finish up my Saturday morning show, and then I do cut-ins during the afternoon handicapping. So in between, I have a bunch of monitors, and I watch a lot of the pregame shows. And as I say, I always find you and Nancy very entertaining and informative.
Well, that's what we try to do, make it informative but also fun. And Nancy's great to work with. She's a great partner, does a terrific job hosting the show. And she's been doing it for a while now, so she's a pro at it. And we just have a really fun time. And I think that fun that you see on air is 100% exactly how it feels doing it. So we're hoping that the fans get a lot out of it. And it's been a real fixture at Oaklawn Park is the pre-race show. And we've talked before about how much the fans love Oaklawn. And I know that at restaurants, a bar across the street, a restaurant called Rocky's across the street, they actually play the pre-race show all throughout the restaurant. And everybody's there with their programs marking things down from what I've been told. So it's a pretty cool deal.
Oh, that's great. I like that. Very good. And yeah, as I say, I always appreciate the pregame shows where it's kind of like, what? That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to go to the track and have that kind of conversation with my friends as I'm sitting there, an hour ahead of time, go over the program and get some ideas. And that's what it's like. Like we're sitting with a few friends and getting some good info. So again, great job there. And before we get started, I also want to give you a chance to plug Out of the Starting Gate, your broadcast. Let people know where and when they can find that.
Well, it's been a fun thing. We've been doing a YouTube show here, and it was a YouTube show that was created a number of years ago called King's Court, and I've also sort of turned it into my own little thing, and Oaklawn's been sponsoring the show, which is terrific. We do a weekly show. We have guests. There are times like last week where I do solo spins and I'm in the studio and basically go over recaps, because a lot of people don't get recaps of races, so we try to plug those in. Clocker picks of the day, of the week. We have Clocker specials because I'm able to watch a lot of the workouts, and that's one of my expertise, is being able to watch workouts and identify good horses, young horses, horses that want more distance, etc. And it's just a good time, very informative show. Even though it's Oaklawn based, there are times where if something is relevant around the country, we'll go over other things too. So it's not just Oaklawn, but it mostly is Oaklawn content. But it's just been a really good show. You can find it on Oaklawn's YouTube page, and we've done about 13 episodes now.
Am I missing it? Did you have Meg on one of the shows?
I did, yeah. Richard came on, and he's fantastic. As
I was about to
always.
say, he's one of those guys. There's a lineup of guests. There's a handful that I'd love to get on the show, but you just tee him up, and he's off and running with a bunch of great stories.
He's just so knowledgeable, and as you mentioned, the stories. Obviously, he's been around the game for a while, so the people he's met, the things he's seen, the insights he has is really second to none. I think, it's not easy being a broadcaster. The good ones make it look a lot easier than it really is. And he has done as good of a transition as I've ever seen with a jockey, going from being a rider to actually going on air. And he does an A+ job. He's phenomenal.
Totally agree. Great guy. I love to get him on my show up in Saratoga when the season is. And then just sitting up in the press box, he'll stop by every week or so, sit down and tell some stories. And they're always very entertaining. So folks can look up your Out of the Starting Gate with him over on YouTube as well. And again, before we get into today's races, a couple more things. First, I mentioned earlier, Aqueduct's adding a Wednesday this week because of winter cancellations. You guys are adding Thursday because of winter cancellations. But I was very intrigued yesterday, day before. It sounds like this time of year next year, Thursdays are going to be a thing with a little bit of a change up in the schedule next season.
That was announced yesterday, yes. So our 2025-26 calendar just came out, published yesterday. How this is going to work is we're going to continue our December meet, as we're going to call it a holiday meet, so to speak, begin in early December, and we're going to run through the first week of January. That'll be January 4th in 2026. Then we're going to take a 3-week break. Then we're going to come back, and for the rest of the meet, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 weekends, we'll have 4 days a week, Thursday through Sunday. So I know a lot of people are really excited about that. Here at Oaklawn, one thing that's unique is that the horsemen, the management, everybody sits at the same table and they work together. Things aren't being approved unless every single organization, the horsemen's organizations, the track itself, and anything else, they all approve it. So the fact of the matter is they've gotten a lot of horsemen's input. Asked them, what would you like to see? A lot of people wanted to see us go back to a 4-day-a-week schedule. There was a deal about 3 years ago done where they decided to go a little bit longer, and for the first few years, make it 3 days a week. And now they're adjusting it back to 4 days a week after a few years has gone by. So I think that's been the goal all along, it appears, is to get back to 4 days a week at some point, at least for a good stretch of the meet. And we're going to have that gap from January 5th to very late January, and hopefully that means that we get some of that bad weather that sometimes we cancel from. Hopefully that happens during that break.
Yeah, I was about to say that break you're taking in January hits right where you have a weather situation oftentimes. So I think that's a nice idea. I think the 4 days will not only, you say the horsemen like it, I think the players like it as well. I know I'm a fan of Oaklawn, and so a nice 4 day a week Oaklawn meet towards the as we get into 2026, I think is going to be a lot of fun, certainly. All right, let's get into it because, again, nice big day, but I wanted to hit on some, we'll do a little recap and a little preview, and I wanted to start with a recap and get your thoughts going back a few weeks ago, Arkansas Derby, because this will play into, in a couple of weeks, the Kentucky Derby. We'll take a look here at the stretch run Sandman. I've liked Sandman throughout the career. We were down at Gulfstream that day covering the Florida Derby, but hung around a little bit to watch this Arkansas Derby on the big screen with West Point Thoroughbred folks, Tommy Bellhouse and Jason Blewett, and clearly they were very excited. I think Terry Finley was at your venue watching from West Point. He got a little wonky in the stretch, but I thought it was a nice performance. What was your takeaway from the Arkansas Derby?
Well, I think with Sandman, he's always had ability. It's just about putting it all together. And as you can see there, he still has some quirks about him. He's a son of Tappet, and a lot of the Tappets sometimes are a little bit of late developers mentally. I thought it was obviously a good effort. I will note, though, that I thought things sort of played out to his running style. Things sort of fell into his lap a little bit. I think, I'm not saying it wasn't a good effort again, but I think maybe visually it looked a little better than it might have naturally been just because of the setup of the race. I think the cornucopian tactics used by John Velasquez, and as much of a Hall of Fame rider as he is, maybe those were the instructions, but whatever decision, whoever made that decision to do what they did was probably not only the head scratcher for Derby preps in terms of tactics for this year, but for many, many years, that was a very strange trip that Cornucopian got, and it turned out to be a very strange pace scenario because of that. And I think it really aided Sandman, who wants a mile and an eighth. He wants the pace to run into. So, he's going to get the pace. He's going to go the right distance, a mile and a quarter in the Derby, so maybe it could happen again. But he also, I think, is going to be running against tougher company. So he's going to have to straighten up a little bit. But I think that's a race that he can grow on. And hopefully the light bulb turns on even further for him.
And I will note, as you say, the pace, 45 and change, 110 and change, and everybody commented on. Then the thing, though, is that it looks like we're going to get some speed in the Derby, although we tend to think, oh, yeah, there's some speed, and then it never plays out that way. But we'll see. This year it seems like we do. But I'll also note a couple of horses that were right behind Sandman are worth talking about. Publisher is a maiden, I thought ran very well. And Coal Battle, he's just been a great story throughout. And I'm thinking he might get overlooked off the third place finish. But the two races just before that were pretty good. And again, if Coal Battle gets up and hits the board even, I think he continues to be a very good story.
For sure. He's the best story of the Triple Crown season this year, for sure. And I've said it before. I think Lonnie Briley's done as good of a job as any trainer could be doing with this horse. And the same can be said with the jockey, Juan Vargas. He's a little horse. When you watch him in the mornings, it's funny because he's going to be at Churchill Downs. He's already had one workout there. Everybody pays attention to these things. And I tell people, don't really think much of his works because he never shows you much in the morning. He's never going to wow you. He's not going to be a horse that people are going to go, this horse is working great. We should really pick him. He's just going to do his thing in the morning. He's very intelligent. He knows the difference between the mornings and the afternoon. Lonnie Briley actually indicated after the race, Arkansas Derby, he thought maybe he had this horse a little bit too fresh. And he was keen early in the race, was on a stronghold early. He was pulling his rider pretty hard. Then he settled down. But I think that sort of hurt his ability to finish in the final ace. I don't think he was winning anyway. I personally question whether another furlong is going to be his best suit. I feel like my gut tells me that maybe he's a mile and a 16th type of horse. I feel like that's probably his best distance. I could be wrong, but he's also the type of horse that tries really hard, and he'll probably beat a number of horses simply because he tries hard. So I would love to see him run well, and he's one that'll be sitting off what you're expecting to be a decent pace. So he's just sort of the little engine that could. He puts himself in a position and he tries hard.
Yeah, again, nice story. Wayne Luke is a nice story. Lonnie Briley, there are some nice human stories heading into the Derby. It's 2 weeks away, but are you leaning towards anybody in the Derby?
Well, I'm leaning towards Journalism and Sovereignty. I think those are my two horses right now. Journalism, obviously, I know he hasn't necessarily beaten big fields, but he's beaten good horses. And, I mean, he had every right to run second last time out, and he didn't. He won. So he's much, much the best in the Santa Anita Derby. And he's just a tank. I mean, he's not a horse that I'm going to see winning a Kentucky Derby like Barbaro, but he's going to keep coming and keep grinding away, and he's just a tank. He's going to keep going at you, and I think he's going to be a handful come Derby time. I think he's very professional, and I think he's got all the attributes of a Kentucky Derby winner. He's got a kick, he's tactical, he's consistent, good pedigree, really nice mover. I mean, he's got everything. He's really the whole package. And Sovereignty, I think last time out, I don't think he needed to win the Florida Derby. I think they would have liked to, but I thought that was a great setup race for the mile and a quarter Kentucky Derby. I think we're going to see him run huge.
I'm with you on Sovereignty. I think that was just what you said, a great setup race. You got a trainer who can make the most of that. Sovereignty is very interesting to me. Again, before we go on, I just wanted to go back and get some thoughts on the Apple Blossom. You had a chance to call Torpedo Anna a couple of times down at Oaklawn this season. That had to be a lot of fun. Talk a little bit about the win in the Apple Blossom last week from Torpedo Anna, and also remark a little bit. I'm sure up in the booth you had to hear the crowd as she came down the stretch.
That's probably the best part of calling a horse like Torpedo Anna. As much as we love racing and we love seeing good performances, it's the atmosphere that a horse like that brings to the racetrack. I announced her in the post parade. Made sure to, before the race, we announced owner, trainer, jockey, horse for each stake race, like a lot of tracks. And when I announced her name, I made sure to pause because I knew that there'd be a large cheer from the crowd, and there was. And it was great. She was very much respected as a champion. Oaklawn is a racing town, and I think people that were there, many people were there from other states just to watch her. It was really a fun thing to see. I had talked to a number of fans there on track before the races that said, yeah, we traveled here just to see her. She was very professional. I think there was more in the tank. Some people said, Brian Hernandez Jr. used the crop once, but I think that was just really to keep her going, keep a reminder, hey, we're going to finish this year. He actually noted that as she came by the 16th pole, right where the crowd starts in the grandstand, sort of put her ears up and was sort of looking around almost a little bit, listening to the crowd and understanding that they were cheering for her. So that's pretty cool to hear that. But in the winner's circle, she got another roar from the crowd. And believe it or not, she got a standing ovation when she was walking back to the barn area. So that's what you see with these champions. Rachel Alexandra, I'm sure you remember that type of thing happened when she won the Woodward. Zenyatta was another one. So it was pretty cool to be a part of that experience and a pleasure to be able to call a filly of that magnitude.
Yeah, I put up a video years ago because I was standing behind the boxes in the clubhouse for Rachel Alexandra and the Woodward, and I put a video up of the crowd just going berserk out on YouTube, and it's gotten a lot of likes over the years. But yeah, the crowd at Oaklawn, very similar to Saratoga in that the appreciation, they're knowledgeable and they can appreciate a good effort like that as horses come back to the winner's circle after those kind of big races. And it's fun to see. And as I say, Oaklawn, very similar to what we see up at Saratoga. And part of that is big races and a big race day coming up on Saturday. Let's start things out with the highlight, the Oaklawn Handicap. It'll be the 11th race today, grade 2 event, $1.25 million, mile and an eighth. I wrote at the top of my page, Salty Group. I pulled up a replay of the Essex. We'll watch number 1 Red Route 1 win for Steve Asmussen and do it pretty nicely. I'd like this horse throughout the career. Ran third in this race, the Oaklawn Handicap last year. But Skippy Longstocking off the win down at Tampa last time comes in for Safi. Alexander Helios also for Safi off a win right here at Oaklawn in the Razorback. Banishing comes in off the Oaklawn Mile win. Disarm has been a good one throughout the past few years for Steve Asmussen. This is the first mission. This is a really good bunch. How did you see the Oaklawn Handicap today?
This is a really good field, just quality-wise. I mean, you've got a really strong group here. I picked Skippy Longstocking, not going out on a limb. But what's interesting is this horse actually went the same route for this race where he won this race last year as the defending champion. He went through this route last year, running in the Challenger at Tampa, and then, of course, coming on to win the Oaklawn Handicap. And I just saw him in the paddock schooling a couple days ago. He looked sensational. I actually think he's grown a little bit since last year. And Sappy Joseph actually indicating to DRF's Mary Rampolini he thinks he's coming into this race as good, if not better than last year. I just think this horse is very tactical. He's a good horse. I don't think he's a Breeders' Cup Classic type of horse, but he's a notch below, but that's still very, very good. Who knows? Maybe down the road we'll see him running bigger races and run better than he did last year. But I think he's very tactical. He should work out a good trip. Coming off that run in the Challenger, he was 3-5 in a small field. I don't think he was cranked up necessarily to win that race 100%. I think they've been pointing for this race all along. So he's going to be ready to run a good race. And I like that Irad Ortiz Jr. is coming in town to ride. That speaks volumes of what they think of this horse. So I'm going to pick Skippy Longstocking in here, the defending champ. I think he can get it done.
Yeah, as you say, the same path. And I like that. I like when you can go back these stakes horses and look at similar patterns. And again, he goes over to Tampa and picks up a little grade 3 last year and then pops a 107 buyer. This year in the Challenger, he hits a 104. If he comes off of that improving, he's the one to beat, clearly. As I say, Red Route 1 was interesting to me, but Skippy, the one to beat. Banishing also. It's going to be fun to see how this one plays out. Again, it is a really salty group. All right, a little bit earlier, the Valley of the Vapors. These are 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile. I pulled up a replay going back to March 30th, the Southern Hospitality Stakes overnight, and Miss Martini is going to be the winner, number 7. Keith Asmussen on top for his dad, Steve. Dare to Fly. Dare to Fly is interesting to me. Changes barns, and I looked it up, and sure enough, this horse was sold at a digital sale subsequent to the victory on February 24th. The digital sale closed the 25th, and so was purchased for $200,000. They come right back to try this stakes race. I found that whole scenario interesting for the number 5 Dare to Fly. Princess Alaya, a $1.2 million purchase in the D. Wayne Lucas barn. Anonyma coming out of the Virginia Oaks, 3rd place finish for Kenny McPeak. How did you see the Valley of the Vapors?
Well, I'm picking the horse that's making her first start for Phil D'Amato, Dare to Fly. Her dam was a router. The lone sibling won routing last week. He's a maiden claiming type for his ferry. But this filly I thought ran a really good race last time out where she beat Mandela, who, by the way, Mandela came back to break her maiden by about 12. We're actually going to see her run for trainer Chris Hartman on Kentucky Oaks Day in Kentucky. I think she's a legit stakes filly, if not graded stakes at this point. Mandela is a very well-regarded, high-level type of filly. So Dare to Fly beat a good runner that day. Getting to the route, she should like it. And I think that this field is a field where you've got some runners that have potential. Maybe they're looking at the Black-Eyed Sues in that type of race down the road here. But I think Dare to Fly is going in the right direction. And if you look at every single one of her races, she's improved in every single race. 2 starts ago, she didn't have the greatest trip. I don't think she would have won, but I think she would have definitely hit the board that day. She's going in the right direction. She's freshened up for D'Amato, who went to 23% with runners making his first start to the barn. So I'm going to pick her on top. And just a quick note, Princess Aaliyah, number 6. Maybe one of the reasons she was purchased for so much money is because she's actually a granddaughter of the great Winning Colors. So a fun pedigree note there.
Gotta like that. And again, this Dare to Fly may be a clever purchase for $210,000. Again, had been running 3 Chimneys as a homebred for 3 Chimneys. They put the horse in the digital sale. You wind up getting some stakes victories with that. You might wind up with a nice little broodmare going forward. That could be a very clever. And Irad Ortiz, again, in town, picks up the ride. So I agree. That one's very, very intriguing. All right. And finally, on the stakes side of things, a little bit earlier, we had talked to John Piassek about the Tessio, which will send the winner potentially to the Preakness. Same scenario in the Bathhouse Row, which is on the card today at Oaklawn. The winner can get a shot at the starting gate in the Preakness. Mile and 8. This is another fun field. Caldera, who kind of clunked in the Louisiana Derby after some trouble, but had run well before that, close-up second in the Sunland Derby, albeit the winner came back and kind of clunked in the Virginia Derby. So Caldera has to kind of validate what we saw 2 back. First Division, I think, is interesting. Tiz Shakir, Bob Baffert comes in pretty capable. But I pulled up a replay going back to February 17th, going to be the number 3 instant replay. This is 2 starts back. Followed that up running 3rd behind Tistastic in the Louisiana Derby. Instant replay, Gary and Mary West and Brad Cox, certainly a player this afternoon. But your thoughts in the Bathhouse Row?
Well, the first thing to note is his secure number 4 is coming out of this race.
Okay.
He was an early scratch, so we're not going to see him. That leaves us with a field of 6 and potentially a little less pace in the race, because with Edwin Maldonado signed on for the Baffert barn, I would have imagined they'd maybe try to get this horse to show some speed. He's a son of Maximum Security, but no problem for Maximum Security. He's got another contender in here. His son, Instant Replay. Not a typical good Brad Cox horse in the sense that this horse comes from well off the pace and makes one run. They figured out that's what he wants to do, and they're not going to try to fix what's working. So he's going to be coming from off the speed. A little bit of a concern there, the fact that this horse isn't going to have as much pace to chase. 2 starts ago, as you mentioned, he won for fun after sitting well off the pace. Then he ran a really good 3rd in the Louisiana Derby. This is a softer group. I don't have a real strong opinion in this race. I looked at him a little bit, number 1. I'm just a little bit hesitant to play him, with my thoughts that maybe a mile and an eighth at this point in his career, stretching it a little bit. I feel that he's better at a little bit shorter distance at this point. That's my gut there. Caldera has always been a very nice horse. Coming off a runner-up finish 2 starts ago in the Sunland Derby, crossed the last race out the Louisiana Derby. It was just a disaster of a trip for him in the first furlong, and that was that. But he's not going to be 15-1. He'll be second choice in the wagering come post time behind Instant Replay. I picked Instant Replay in here. I just think he's coming into this race the best. I think there are a few others in here that form-wise you question whether they're going in the right direction. Even though Caldera didn't perform last time out, he had a bad trip, I still question whether maybe after a long campaign in the winter, maybe he's starting to feel those effects a little bit. I just think Instant Replay off form is the best horse in the race. So he's going to be my pick in here.
Yeah, Flavian Prat hops on board, so that is a bonus as well. Matt, appreciate the thoughts. Another big day. You know, we have the Arkansas Derby, and you think highlight of the meet, and then what follows up? Oh, a little Torpedo Anna, a great edition of the Oaklawn Handicap this afternoon. So the beat just keeps on playing, and we will be tuned in again today for all the action. Oh, give us a little update. What's your weather look like today?
So the good news for us is it looks like the weather is going to be overcast but warm, about high 70s, maybe 80 tops. We were expecting some rain in the forecast, and that's not going to change, but it's going to be in the evening. So we're going to be just fine. It's going to be a fast track today. Our infield will be open. We're expecting at least 30,000 people on track today, if not more. So we're going to have a big day here at Oaklawn. It'll be fun, and then we're going to be able to get those showers heading into the Easter holiday, but it'll be good. We'll have a fast track all day, and that's the most important thing we're looking for.
Nice. Great day of racing. So I always like to get the good weather. Matt, appreciate the visit and the thoughts, and we will talk again.
All right, Seth. Have a good day.
Appreciate it. Matt Dinerman, again, the announcer down there at Oaklawn, but you can catch Matt and Nancy with the pregame show. That's always a lot of fun. And check out Matt's broadcast on YouTube out of the starting gate, because again, does a nice job there as well. All right, we'll take one quick break. I'll come back and wrap it up right after this. Stay tuned.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
Haven't signed up for a Capital OTB account yet? Now's the time to take advantage of the sign-up bonus. Open up a new account with $200 or more, bet $400 by the end of the month, and receive a bonus $200 into your account. Plus, you can take advantage of everything an OTB account has to offer: wagering from any device, live streaming, racing info, past performances, online promotions, and more. Sign up today and take advantage of the new account bonus. Details at capitalotb.com.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills. and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Welcome back. As I said earlier, a little more on the DeSantis visit to the Ocala sale. And again, that was Thursday. He visited OBS. I believe maybe invitation from Mike Rapoli. He was being shown around by Mike Rapoli, certainly. But there's a quote here. And again, he got up before the sale in the sales ring, at the podium and had a little talk. Quote here from one of the articles at Blood Horse. This is, you can count on me as one that is not going to look favorably on legislation that's going to decimate any of our signature industries. He goes on to say, we're all watching this very carefully, but I'm trying to play the role now of protecting the people of Florida from any sabotage being done in the Florida House of Representatives. This issue, you can argue it different ways, but I look at it as, are you standing up for Floridians or not? Are you siding with folks who don't even live here or other interests, or for racing and the people? So it sounds like good news of, the governor standing against this decoupling bill. So that may be good news for Florida racing, which again has had kind of the sword of Damocles hanging over their head for a while now. But Governor DeSantis at the OBS sales on Thursday making some positive remarks. And looking at the leaderboard here, and I believe this is the most update. I printed it up yesterday, but Matticat Road, who has been declared out, is out on this list. So just to give you an update here, Bubble Horses, Neo Equus, who again, Safi's hoping to get in and would certainly provide some speed. Neo Equus is 21. Render Judgment is 22 for Ken McPeak, and Baeza, who a lot of people would like to see get in off the second place finish in the Santa Anita Derby that was promising. Baeza, and again, being a sibling to Maj and Dornoch, Baeza sits at number 23, 2 weeks out. So is going to need some help there to make something happen. Owen Almighty, again, that was news this week. For folks who maybe are in work all week long and don't tune in, but for the weekends, Owen Almighty was out and then back in, which was to the consternation of many folks on social media, and I'm sure consternation of some of the folks on the bubble as well. But that's Owen Almighty is very interesting in that going into the Tampa Bay Derby, which he won, trainer Brian Lynch said, win, lose, or draw, we're going to the Pate Mile. They come out of the Tampa Bay Derby, and the connections are kind of, I don't know. And so, and they wind up, trying the next race, which doesn't wind up well. And then they say, yeah, okay, we'll go to the Pate Mile. But then 2-3 days ago, that flipped. And I guess they had a meeting, Tuesday night, the connections. I kind of get it, I mean, if you're a horse owner, you may only get one shot at the Derby. The entire time you own horse, you just don't know. And so you may want to take your shot. To me, I think it's hard for me to say. I'm not a horse owner at that level, certainly, to have to make that decision. But for me, I just like to have a nice horse. I mean, the one afternoon of yay, and you run 6th or 7th. I mean, if you think you can maybe pull off an upset, I suppose you take your shot. I don't know. To me, as I say, there's no race. I'm a lifelong Saratoga fan, but if I had a horse that was eligible for the Travers and I thought could win, great. But it's not like, oh, there's the one. I'd just like to have a nice racehorse and watch and follow around. But again, I get it. I'm not an owner at that level, obviously, and I get that you may think, oh, here's our one shot. We have a horse. We got the points. When might that happen again? Never, maybe. Let's take our shot. So I can't knock them too much. But Owen Almighty back in the mix, and again, Baeza now sitting kind of notably on the outside at number 23. So with 2 weeks left. There are your bubble horses. All right, going to wrap it up. Oh, before I do, let me remind you. Monday. Let me remind you that tomorrow, no TV, no Racing Across America. But again, with no wagering on horse racing in New York, we'll feature the Oaks points races and the Derby points races. We have a nice package put together going back to the 2-year-old season, showing all of those prep races leading to Oaks and Derby. So maybe you get some ideas watching those. That'll be tomorrow here on the network on Easter. Everybody enjoy your Easter holiday, certainly. Monday, there is a carryover in the Pick 5 at Parks with a mandatory. And I think when I saw the press release a couple days ago, we were looking at maybe $500,000 in the pool. It was big, whatever it was. So again, keep that in mind. Monday, mandatory in the late Pick 5. And as I say, the press release said made the point say it's the late Pick 5, but there is no early pick. So I don't know how that shakes out exactly, but if there's 2, it's the late. So just keep that. If there's only 1, that's what it's going to be. But Pick 5 mandatory at Parks on Monday. Racing in New York on Wednesday to make up for a cancellation day. So Aqueduct on Wednesday. Thursday, Oaklawn making up for a cancellation day. So keep that in mind as well. We do have a Kentucky Derby bankroll that will be played Kentucky Derby weekend. It's going to be the Brooklyn Cowboy, Kevin Cox, $2,500. And that will open, the bankroll entries will open on Wednesday at capitalotb.com. We'll alert you to that next week as well. You'll have plenty of time to put your name in for that. But keep that in mind. You can take your shot to get on the bankroll team starting next Wednesday. Friday, Happy Hour Bankroll, as I mentioned earlier. I'll be playing on behalf of the bankroll team on Friday afternoon right here at the Clubhouse Racebook. So stop by 711 Central Avenue in Albany. Put your name in the bin and see if you can get selected for the bankroll team. Again, that'll be this coming Friday right here at the Clubhouse Racebook. I'm just checking what else is coming up. Churchill and Woodbine are going to open up a week from today. A week from Monday, the 28th, Finger Lakes is going to kick back off. So lots of activity coming up here and in the general world of horse racing. We'll wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America, but I will return a couple hours, well, less than an hour and a half or so for OTB Live for Saturday afternoon. We'll enjoy some of that Oaklawn action, certainly some New York and more on this Saturday afternoon. So hoping we have some good ideas to toss out and everybody cashes a few tickets. So again, back in about an hour and a half. We'll see you then.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.
Wait them over there. Bit of a run.